So in today's video, we're going to talk about what constitutes a successful savings account. Okay. So I have the 5 circles here. But before we get into these 5 circles, the 5 circles are there's income here, there's bank savings account, this is your investments, this is insurance, and this is like a tin can. And I'll explain this later. Okay. So what constitutes a successful savings account? So before we're gonna get through this, let's talk about the 3 path to wealth. Okay, there's really only 3 paths to wealth, and I'm gonna oversimplify this. Okay, so 1 is you live below your means. 2 is you make more money, and then 3 is you apply both. Okay. So live below your means, all that is you need to understand your strike number. And what I mean by that is like the money that's coming in every month. The money that you're using on a month-to-month basis. This is your lifestyle money. So you understand that, know it, okay? So that you know exactly how much you need to spend every month in order to live the lifestyle that you want. We can improve on that later, but as of today, where are you? And understand that part. You need to live below that number. Okay. So if you're making, let's say, 5,000 a month, maybe you need to have a lifestyle that's 4,000. And then that extra 1,000, we're going to put that somewhere where that's going to build wealth for you, strictly for wealth building, right? Live below your means. Make more money. All that is basically find a side hustle. Okay. If you don't know a side hustle, you need to start looking online. There's a lot of things you can do. Maybe another thing is if there's a path in your job right now where you can make more money, take that path. Or maybe you could go get like associates or some sort of take a course where you can, that course would lead you to another position that's going to make you more money. Okay. And then 3 is you apply both. So what happens with most people is there's this thing called lifestyle inflation, right? Whenever you start making money, you start increasing your lifestyle. So if you're not saving anything and you're making more money, then you're just going to keep on doing the same thing over and over again and then expecting a different result, right? So, but if you're saving, let's say you're saving 10% or 20% of your income, then once your money increases, let's say you're making 5,000 a month, and then you're living on 4,000 a month budget, you're saving 1,000, and then let's say you create, you start making more money, you start making now 7,000 or 8,000. Now your savings rate just went from 20% to 50%. Okay, so that's what I mean by apply both. That's how you expedite your wealth building process. We can talk about increasing your lifestyle later, but in the beginning, when you're building wealth, you need to focus on living below your means or making more money. And then eventually you're going to apply both. Okay. So that's an oversimplification of how the 3 paths to building wealth. Okay. But that makes sense. There's really no other, everything can be put in this bucket over here. So when we talk about this different circles, this is your income. Let's just say that you are an individual that's, let's say you are an individual that's making, let's make the number simple, okay? So let's say you're an individual that's making 100,000 per year, okay? 100,000 per year. And you are, let's say you're 30 years old, okay? 30 years old. So before, and I always tell people this, the most important facet of building wealth is your savings account. Okay. The least important is insurance. Insurance to me is a want, it's not a need. Okay. I want to have my kids, or my wife or my kids' college or whatever expenses they have paid off if I die, right? That's how most people think about insurance. It's a want product. It's not something that I have to have. Okay. The most important part of building wealth is your savings account. Okay. So if you're making, let's say, 100,000 a year, before that money can get to that account, these has to be met, right? These are your necessities. These are things that you need to take care of. And an example on this would be like your clothing, okay, your shelter, your food, right? These are things that this money has to go through in order to get to that part. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. You need to understand this number so that you can put some money here. So if we're going to work together, like my clients, normally I go through this with them. I have to get this to a minimum, depending on what level they are. Okay. At a minimum, 20K. Okay. Here. Because once we start having some sort of money here, then we can start focusing on investments, right? If we don't have anything to put in investment, then we can't, there's nothing to build, right? If we're spending 100% of our income, how are we going to build wealth? Okay. So once we get this to a certain level, this could be 10, this could be 15, maybe there's an opportunity that comes along, then we can start focusing on investments, right? Insurance is also a form of savings vehicle. And most people don't understand this, and I'll explain this here in a little bit. But before we go to this, let's talk about investment. What are some of the investments that we can kind of get into, right? You have your real estate. I love real estate, okay? Real estate, you have the stock market, you have crypto. What else? You have oil and gas. You have, what else? We have energy. So these are things that you can invest in so that you can make more money. Okay. Without, at some point, once the savings vehicles are filled up, let's say we have enough money savings, we have enough savings here, then we're going to focus 100% of our attention here. If we are going to participate in this capitalistic system, this is where we're going to make most of our money. Okay. So, but before we can make our money here, this has to be fixed first, right? So, and I always tell people this: there are two types of people economically in this world. Okay, there's people that spend their money and then they save what's left, and there's people that save their money and then spend what's left. So the first group that save their money first and then the first group that spends their money first and then save what's left always ends up working for group two, which is they're the one that's saving their money first and then spending what's left. Okay, so this is why this is super important to fix this first before we even get to this part. Okay, so now let's kind of talk about the different ways to save money. So what constitute a savings account? Okay, so let's start here for a second. Let's say you've been saving money. Okay, you have an account here that's making, let's say, 5%, and you have an account here that's making 1%. Okay, when I ask people what is the difference between a 5% savings account and a 1% savings account, okay, what's the difference? Okay, take a guess. Normally, when I ask that question, they always tell me, Joe, it's 4%. Okay. Now, that's actually wrong, right? If it was a math problem, you're 100% correct. But we are not talking about math here. We're talking about a savings account. And I'm going to prove this to you. Okay. So let's bring this tin can here for a little bit. Okay. So let's pretend here for a second, okay? Let's pretend that we're depositing $10,000 a year on each one of these accounts, okay? 10K. Control C, Control V, Control V. So let's say every year we're depositing 10,000. Okay, we're depositing 10,000 a year in this account. Depositing 10, year one, right? Depositing 10. Let's move this out of the way for now. For now, we're not going to be talking about investments right now. Okay, investments for now are out of the question for now. Okay, let's move that out of the way for now. We're just talking about this 3 savings account. So we're depositing 10, okay? And then the next year, we're depositing 10 again. We're depositing 10 again. And we do this for 5 years straight, right? We do this for 5 years straight, depositing 10,000 in each one of these accounts every year. In 5 years, where do you think is going to have more money? The savings account here, this insurance here, or the tin can? Now, this is the caveat, okay? The savings account and insurance, you see this every day. You have full access to this money. Every day you see it, you can access the money, you can use it whenever, pull the money out. You just have full access to it. Now, the tin can, this one right here, it only opens once a year, okay? It opens once a year. You put your 10,000 in, it closes. Can't touch it, okay? Next year, it opens again. It opens again, you put your 10,000 in, it closes. Can't touch it, okay? In 5 years, where do you think is going to have more money? The answer is a tin can. Because this is what most people don't get, right? People have tendencies, okay? If you see money sitting here, you're going to find a reason to use that money. Meaning, if something comes up, oh man, I got money right here. I have 50,000 sitting in my bank account plus a 5% is growing. I'm going to end up using this money, whether it's an emergency, whether an opportunity comes along, something will happen. You're going to make a reason to use that money. So the rate of return this could be 20%. In 5 years, you're going to have less money here than you have here. Okay. So the success and failure of a savings account has nothing to do with the rate of return. This is what most people don't understand, okay? It has everything to do with the methodology of putting money in the account and forgetting about it, okay? So again, I'm going to repeat that. The success and failure of a savings account has nothing to do with the rate of return. You're getting caught up with the rate of return like everybody else. It has everything to do with not touching the money, okay? So all that is, okay, let's take some of this part. Let's delete some of this. Now, what people don't know is an insurance, a permanent life insurance product, all it is a tin can. It's the same exact as a tin can, okay? That's all it is. And what's even better than that, what are you making right now on your checking or savings account at Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America? Less than 1%. This one is paying between 4 to 6%. Okay. That's all life insurance is. It's a tin can. You put your money in. If you want to access your money, you can collateralize the money. You still have access to the money, but the money inside your account, you can't touch it. It's locked in. If you need to access that money, they let you borrow their own money. Okay. It's called interest arbitrage. And we're going to talk about that more. But that's all it is. So this is what most people don't understand, right? To have a successful savings account, we need to build this first, okay? Because at some point, when the money is there, is enough to grow, then we can start participating in this middle part. But if you're not saving, okay? If you're not saving money, there's no wealth to build, okay? So I'm going to talk to you about my 5 principles, and this is very important. The 5 principles are: 5 principles. Wealth building principles. Number 1, max protection in all areas. You cannot build a wealth on sand, okay? One thing happens in your life, everything crumbles. So if you're trying to build a wealth tower, you have to have protection. You know, whatever that is, and that's everybody. Everyone is different depending on their wealth level, right? But you need to have protection because if something happens, then that whole thing is going to crumble. Number 2, why is this not showing up, man? Interesting. Okay, save 10 to 20% of your gross income for wealth building, for building wealth. That needs to be put in a separate account, and we're just going to use that to build wealth. Okay. Number 3, reserves. You need to have between 6 to 12 months in reserve. Or if something happens, if you lose your job, something happens, you need to have access to money that's sitting somewhere where you don't have to tap into your wealth building account, right? You can use your reserves for that purpose, not your wealth building account. Okay, 6 to 12 months in reserves. Number 4, only invest in things you understand. If you don't understand it, don't touch it. You know, don't have that shiny object syndrome that most people have. You know, most of the wealth are built with patience. You know, like a lot of people don't have that. So if you don't understand something, don't chase after it. Opportunities will always come along. If you have savings, if you have money sitting to the side being saved up, the least of your problems will be finding opportunities. Opportunities will come to you. Okay, understand that. And then number 5, which is the most important, you need to understand the velocity of money. You need to understand the velocity of money. You need to be able to control how fast your money grows. And we can talk about this. You need to be able to predict 5 years from now, at a minimum, I'm right here. And 10 years from now, at a minimum, I'm right here. That has to be established. And there's ways to do that, okay? So understanding the velocity of money, meaning understanding how fast your money is going to grow, and having a plan to get there where you have guarantees, right? This is why the foundation is very, very important. All these leaks in your financial bucket needs to be plugged in so that you can literally tell your future self in 5 years, this is your net worth at a minimum, okay? So this is the 5 wealth building principles, okay? So I hope this helps, guys. This is the proper way to think about savings, okay? Again, savings has nothing to do with the rate of return. It has everything to do with the methodology of putting money in. And the proper way to do that is structuring an infinite banking account or structuring a private reserve account where your money is growing every day. It gets better and better and better every day. Because if I were to ask people when you're watching a compound interest curve, it's kind of like going back to school, right? Your teacher is showing you this compound interest curve, which Albert Einstein calls the 8th wonder of the world. And then you're looking at this thing and it's kind of like watching paint dry, right? In the beginning, it's like flat, you know? But once you get to the later years, the 10th, 15th, 20 years, the growth is astronomical. You're almost seeing this curve, right? So with knowing that and understanding that, how often do you want to reset your compound interest curve? The answer is never. You never want to reset your own compound interest curve. And this is what infinite banking can do for you. Okay. So again, savings account, it has nothing to do with rate of return. It has everything to do with the methodology of putting money in and then collateralizing that money using OPM or OPM, in other words, other people's money, when an opportunity comes along. Okay. So I hope that helped. Take care, guys. Plan up.